To breaking news out of New Zealand, emergency crews have been called to Auckland Airport after several people were reportedly injured on a flight coming from Sydney.
Nick Truebridge joins us from Auckland International Airport. Kia ora, Nick, what have you found out?
Let's go live to our New Zealand correspondent Jack Nyhoff. Jack, what do we know about these injuries and how they happened?
Yeah, this is flight LA 800, which departed from Sydney, landing in Auckland at about 4 o'clock local New Zealand time.
Good evening, Laura. Well, we've been here just on an hour, and what I can tell you is this is the airside access gate at Auckland International Airport, and I think we've got some pictures for you. In the last hour or so, we've seen a number of St John's unit go through this onto the runway, including a command centre and a number of rapid response vehicles.
Good evening. We begin our broadcast tonight with breaking news, and around 50 passengers have been injured on a flight from Sydney to Auckland after the aeroplane experienced a technical problem.
Now, some breaking news, and emergency services have rushed to Auckland International Airport in New Zealand after a technical problem caused mass injuries to travellers on a plane landing from Sydney.
Let's get more news now. Here's Mon.
Thanks, Nat. Good morning. Aviation giant Boeing is under renewed scrutiny after 50 people were injured when one of their planes experienced a sudden drop while flying across the Tasman. Let's go live now to Chief Reporter in the US, David Woodward. Now, Dave, this was a terrifying ordeal for those on board.
Good morning. Aircraft manufacturer Boeing is investigating after a flight from Sydney to Auckland descended into chaos, seemingly dropping out of the sky, injuring dozens of passengers.
I'm Kate Whitworth here in Los Angeles, and right now on ABC News Live, a new terrifying scare in the air involving a Boeing jet. Passengers describing a sudden drop during the flight, injuring dozens. What the airline is saying about the event.
We're following breaking news. At least 50 people are hurt after what officials say was a strong movement on a Boeing jet flying from Sydney, Australia to Auckland, New Zealand. The Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner landed in Auckland with paramedics there waiting on the ground.
Let's go straight to TVNZ reporter Jacob Johnson in Auckland. Jacob, good evening to you. What more can you tell us?
Can you believe it? Tonight, Boeing is investigating another mid-air incident involving one of its planes. This time, a 787-9 Dreamliner. At least 50 people on board a LATAM Airlines flight were injured today.
Cerca de 50 pessoas ficaram feridas durante voo da LATAM que seguia da Austrália para o Chile.
Outros destaques. Pelo menos 50 pessoas ficam feridas após incidente envolvendo voo da LATAM entre a Austrália e a Nova Zelândia.
But we begin here with that mid-air scare involving a Boeing jet, this time on a LATAM Airlines flight from Sydney, Australia to New Zealand. Passengers are saying that the 787 Dreamliner suddenly plunged mid-flight. It sent people flying from their seats, tossing them around the cabin.
There's some breaking news coming in this morning. We're learning 50 people were injured after a strong movement of some kind on a Boeing flight to New Zealand. South American airline LATAM says there was a technical event on a Boeing Dreamliner, a 787-9 from Sydney, Australia to Auckland, New Zealand today.
Passengers on board a LATAM Airlines flight from Sydney to Auckland say they feared for their lives when the plane suddenly dropped. Roughly 2 hours into yesterday's flight, the airline says the aircraft experienced a technical event.
I want to bring in our ABC News transportation reporter, Sam Sweeney, for more on this. So, Sam, what else are we hearing from the airlines about this?
Well, right now they're trying to figure out exactly what happened on this plane. It was early Australia time in the morning when it was crossing over into Auckland.
But we want to get right to that new video showing the moments a Boeing plane suddenly plunged mid-flight, injuring dozens of people.
Tonight, nosedive. Growing questions about what caused a plane carrying 263 passengers to suddenly plummet midair.
Good afternoon. Passengers say they thought they were going to die when a LATAM Airlines flight from Sydney to Auckland experienced a violent mid-air drop. This afternoon, we're hearing harrowing first-hand accounts from travellers on board.
Sending bodies flying through the cabin, hitting the plane ceiling. The airline calling it a, quote, technical error, but no further explanation has been given.
Passengers on board a Sydney to Auckland flight that suffered a technical problem have described people flying into the ceiling.
Estamos acá en el estudio con Sofía Cepeda con esto que ha marcado las últimas horas con este vuelo que pudo haber terminado en una verdadera tragedia.
Video from inside Chilean flight LATAM 800 capturing the aftermath of some harrowing moments.
Good luck with your next flight, hey?